Good evening and welcome to the City Council, Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, and Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority meeting of August 28, 2018. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Councilmember Bierman.
Here.
Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Castleberry.
Here.
Councilmember Hickman. Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Holman.
Here.
Councilmember Scott.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is the approval of City Council Community Planning and Transportation Committee minutes of June 26, 2018, City Council Special Session minutes of August 14, 2018, and City Council Norman Utilities Authority, Norman Municipal Authority, and Norman Tax Increment Finance Authority minutes of August 14, 2018. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
The motion on the floor is to approve the minutes. By a show of hands, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That was unanimous. Item number 4 is a proclamation proclaiming Thursday, September 6, 2018 as Operation School Bell Day in the city of Norman. I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge receipt of the proclamation.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That was unanimous. A proclamation of the mayor of the city of Norman, Oklahoma, proclaiming Thursday, September 6, 2018 as Operation School Bell Day in the city of Norman. Whereas the Assistance League of Norman, a chartered chapter of National Assistance League, is an organization created to carry out a program of philanthropic work in the community. And whereas Operation School Bell provides clothing to more than 160,000 children across the nation on budgets of more than $8 million each year. And whereas studies have shown that appropriate school clothing improves school attendance and classroom performance, an Assistance League of Norman's goal is to help children feel better about themselves and better about going to and staying in school. And whereas the Assistance League of Norman raises more than $100,000 annually to purchase clothing for Operation School Bell, and each year more than 1,900 local children in need are provided new clothing items, which include 1 coat, 1 pair of shoes, 5 pair of underwear, 3 pair of jeans, 5 pair of socks, 5 tops or shirts, and a hygiene kit, as well as what they want in used clothing and a new book to read each year, referred to as Book of My Own. Whereas the Assistance League of Norman has been clothing Norman school children through Operation School Bell for 40 years, and in recognition of this achievement, Norman residents are invited to open house on September 6, 2018 at 809 Wall Street from 5 to 7. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Norman, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim Thursday, September 6th, an Operation School Bell Day in the City of Norman, call upon the entire citizenry of Norman to join the Assistance League of Norman in support of Operation School Bell. And at this time, I would ask that Stephanie Clinton, is Stephanie here? If you'll come to the front. Thank you for all the good work you all do. And would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mayor Miller and council members, for this honor of making September 6th Operation School Bell Day. You have no idea the impact that Operation School Bell has on the school children, kindergarten through 12th grade. Last year, in the school year, we clothed 1,935 children in Norman Public Schools and Little Axe schools. And we have evidence from counselors and school teachers that it does make a difference in their classrooms, and it makes a difference in attendance and in their ability to stay focused and focus on the task at hand as opposed to what's going on their clothes. So as president of Assistance League And our Operation School Bell Chair I have with me, we would really like to thank you for this wonderful honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. As a former teacher and counselor and principal in the school system, I can't tell you how many children I saw benefit from this. It's just such an important program. So thank you all for what you do. Item number 5 is the consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so that the City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion. I need a motion to place items 6 through 24 on the consent docket.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That was unanimous. Number 6 is confirmation of nominees to Norman Youth Council. Item number 7 is consideration of the mayor's appointments to Ruby Grant Ad Hoc Group and the Norman Election Commission. Item number 8 is submission of the Finance Director's investment report as of July 31st, 2018. Item 9 is submission of the monthly departmental reports for the month of July 2018. Item 10 is submission of the city manager's change order report. Item 11 is authorization from the Norman Utilities Authority to purchase 2 digester sludge pumps in the amount of $68,700 from Bertram Products, Inc. for the water reclamation facility. Item 12 is authorization from the purchase of 1 pumper tanker truck in the amount of $657,778.05 from Pierce Manufacturing through Conrad Fire Equipment, utilizing the Houston Galveston area contract. Item 13 is authorization for the purchase of a motor vehicle barrier system from Security Pro USA in the amount of $63,840 for the police department and budget appropriation from the state seizure and restitution fund balance. Item 14 is a contract with WEB Construction in the amount of $1,583,150.50 and the subsequent bonds for the 24th Avenue Southeast Waterline Relocation Project and adoption of a project agent resolution granting tax exempt status. Item 15 is a bid and approval of a contract with PM Construction and Rehab LLC and IBR South Central LLC in the amount of $1,348,501 and the subsequent bonds for the sewer maintenance project FYE 2014 Phase 2. Item 16 is the acceptance of a permanent right-of-way easement donated by the City of Norman for the 36th Avenue Northwest widening from Tecumseh Avenue to Indian Hills Road. Item 17 is the acceptance of a permanent utility easement donated by the City of Norman for the 36th Avenue Northwest widening from Tecumseh Avenue to Indian Hills. Item 18 is special claims submitted by Southwestern Bell Telephone Company, AT&T Oklahoma, in the amount of $2,573.31 for damage to a buried cable by the Stormwater Division while repairing a stormwater pipe located at 2606 Richardson Drive. Item 18 is change order number 2 to a contract with Central Contracting Services, increasing the contract amount by $118,152 for a revised contract amount of $836,266 for the Rock Creek Road Waterline Replacement Project, final acceptance of the project, and a budget transfer between the project accounts. Item 20 is a contract with Allen Plummer and Associates in the amount of $280,000 to provide engineering services related to final design, bidding, and construction administration for the Robinson Waterline Replacement Project Phase 3, located between 24th Avenue Northwest and Flood Avenue. Item 21 is a contract with Axon Company in the amount of $272,538 for the purchase of 130 TASER conductive energy weapons under a technology assurance program to replace units that are no longer serviceable for a period of 5 years, and budget appropriations from the Seizures and Restitution Fund balance. Item 22 is a resolution appropriating $74,000 from the Federal Seizures and Restitution Fund balance to provide funding for 2 police motorcycles and associated equipment, as well as to purchase state identification cards, driver's licenses, or birth certificates for members of Norman's homeless community. Item 23 is a resolution authorizing compromise settlement of a claim filed by Brandon Ingram under the provisions of the Workers' Compensation Statutes of Oklahoma in the case of Brandon Ingram versus the City of Norman Workers' Compensation Commission case. Item 24 is a resolution appropriating $2,175 from the Animal Welfare Donation Liabilities account to purchase shelter management software for the Norman Animal Welfare Center to better facilitate reunification of lost pets with their owners. I need a motion to approve or reject the consent docket.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are there any comments from the council regarding any docket? Councilmember Bierman.
So I do have a couple comments on items number 7 and 24. On item number 7, I want to congratulate the members of the Ruby Grant Ad Hoc Committee and say how much I'm looking forward to their insight into the design of Ruby Grant Park. Mr. Chappell, I know you're going to lead this committee well, and I'm really looking forward to you doing so. And I'd also like to thank the mayor for her consideration and nomination of William Power, who happens to be a Ward 3 resident, by the way, to the committee to represent the disc golf community. They have been waiting anxiously for this disc golf course at Ruby Grant Park since I moved here in 2009. So I know they're going to be really excited to see this move forward and to have someone on the ad hoc committee to give that perspective. And as the council liaison to the Animal Welfare Oversight Committee, I'd also like to make one comment about item 24, allocating donation funds to restore the ability of residents to view stray dogs and cats at the shelter online. That is an ability they used to have, but haven't for nearly a full year. As far as I'm aware, Norman Animal Welfare is the only city department that is so heavily reliant on monetary and physical donations, such as treats and paper towels. And I do hope that in future years, we can be funding things like this software correction, not out of donation funds, which people give to the shelter to enrich the lives of the dogs and cats at the shelter. I feel that this is a service that we should be offering and that we should not be using donation funds to restore. In this situation, I know that this is the way to get it done quickly, and I'm okay with that. But I would hope that the annual fee to do this every year will in the future come from a budget and not from donation funds. So that is all I have to say on that.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson.
Thank you. I would like to have Chief Humphrey maybe come talk to us about items 13, 21, and 22 with the state and federal asset seizure, where those funds come from, how they come here, how we can use them, and maybe specifically the identification program for the homeless, how we determine that number and how we're using it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Keith Humphrey, Chief of Police. As you know, there's 2 forms of asset forfeiture seizure funds. One state and one is federal. They're pretty much the same. They are the state and the federal government has allowed this for years. Basically, when we find someone who is committing illegal activity and they are using certain funds to do so, we have the authority to seize those funds. There's a hearing, a civil hearing, to determine if those funds have been seized properly or if those funds have to be returned to the person that they were seized from. As you can know, our federal seizure funds, we have a 100% conviction on federal seizure. So the money that you see has been awarded by the courts. State seizure, we also have a high conviction rate, but also in the state seizure, you do have those individuals that voluntarily turn over the money. Say, for instance, we have made numerous stops on I-35. And we have seized large sums of money that are associated with illegal drugs. A lot of times the individuals, when the money's seized, they do not come forward to get that money because it was made illegally. And so that money goes through a hearing, and that money is either awarded, like I said previously, or if it's returned back to that owner. The law is very specific regarding the usage of these funds. They have to be used specifically and only, and I say that strongly, only law enforcement purposes. So it cannot be used by any other department in the city. It has to be used by police, and we use it normally for training and for equipment that we can, for one-time capital items that we can purchase, that maybe we can release some of the burden on the general fund. And if we don't utilize those funds, they just sit there. They cannot be utilized. And also there is a possibility, as far as the federal seizure funds, that they can also be removed by the federal government if you don't use those funds based on what they're used for. We can also use them for community programs that are initiated by the police department. We anticipate, we base our numbers for our homeless initiative. We look at about 100 individuals. That's what we budget for that, so that we don't want to leave anyone out. So, you know, these funds may cover as many as 150 to 200 individual as our program grows in popularity.
How do we administer? How would someone go about getting the identification in that program?
Yes, ma'am. So on a quarterly basis, we have an event. We publicize it. We've had one at the library. We've had one at Andrews Park. We've got another one coming up here soon. And we advertise through our different agencies. The individuals will come. We'll have someone from DPS, Department of Public Safety, someone from Vital Statistics for birth certificates. We'll have some other community partners there to help individuals receive maybe some of the resources that they did not know they were eligible for. We also, when Dr. Tyler was here, we also provided veterinarian care, because we found that some of our members of our homeless community, they have animals that may not have received proper care. And so they come, they're vetted. There's forms they have to fill out. We do not handle the birth certificates. We basically, DPS or Vital Statistics, they invoice us, and then we pay, send the money to them for the.
So they administer. So can someone that has zero, any kind of identification at that point get identified?
They can, yes.
They can become.
Yes, ma'am. There are some people that have birth certificates, and it's easy to prove who they are. There's some that don't. We also purchase birth certificates for the citizens that participate in the program. It's been really a great program, and it continues to grow. We also, I think, if I make no mistake, I think Lieutenant Bryant told me there possibly were 2 individuals that were eligible for some type of benefit as far as Social Security, and they had no idea. And so we were able to get them hooked up with those benefits. So it's been really a great program, and we want to continue to do this. Yes.
Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Castleberry.
On item 12, this would be for the fire chief.
Okay. That's okay, as long as you remember what we're there.
Yes.
Excited to see that we're getting another pumper truck and tanker truck as we kind of go into the grass fire season, stuff like this. I know this would be paying out of the PSST, but was this one of the original items identified in the PSST, or was this an additional one? This was I think it was one of the original ones, wasn't it?
This was not originally in
Okay.
the PSST program, so we restructured the plan for that. Thank you for the question. If I may, I could
Please
share
do, yes.
several points on that. So my staff and I have worked very hard on this concept. We believe it'll have a very positive impact on our community, especially out east. We design apparatus to handle the challenges of specific districts. In this case, the apparatus will have a beefed up suspension, cab, and we'll also have 3,000 gallons that it carries on it. So a typical fire apparatus, fire truck has 500 to 750 gallons of water. So with 3,000 gallons of water located at Station 6, we have a lot of firepower coming in on that first fire.
It looked like a
fire
big
alarm.
truck, and
Yeah. So
that's your typical brush.
yeah, correct. And with that, we're going to restructure how we respond to emergency calls out east. So we're going to use our brush pumpers now to respond to medical calls. So we think that'll have a very positive impact on response times. It's also going to take wear and tear off these big, expensive apparatus. So we think we can increase the service life of it by up to 5 years. In this case, we think it'll be in service for 18 to 20 years. This will also complement our individual medical protocol program. So we have paramedics on those brush pumpers getting there faster. We think that's a positive thing. Those brush pumpers are in production now. They will also complement the design of this pumper tanker. So on structure fires, they'll be able to do some structure firefighting as well. The pumper tanker will be staffed at all times. So if you have an event where a medical call, they're engaged in a medical call, you have 3 firefighters on that, the pumper tanker can start responding to that structure fire. Other help's on the way. We can also take the engine at Station 6 and we can repurpose it in town. Once that happens, we will have apparatus freed up where we can open up the West Side Ladder Company. This has positive impacts on our ISO rating. We think that will help the next time we get when they come in and do a schedule on us. So more water east, more ladders west, that's a positive thing. We also are going to pursue doing this at Station 5 at 168th and Highway 9, another east station, recapture that engine with you all's approval next fiscal year. That's another positive thing. And over the next 3 fiscal years, we're anticipating several $100,000s worth of savings in the PSST program. Any other questions?
Councilmember Wilson. Oh,
I hope I answered
were you not
everything you
done?
had there.
Sorry.
I would just say thank you. I wanted to give you a chance to toot your horn.
Oh, well, hey.
Some people see the $650,000 Ferrari here that we're putting out fires with, and there's more to it than that. Those are very complicated fire trucks. There's only a couple companies in the U.S. that do it. And before you answer, just can you talk a little bit about using the Houston contract and how we use that and how that kind of saves the money? And then I really appreciate you being so frugal with the PSST fund. I know it's a little strapped right now, and this is the way you've structured this. I think is very prudent use of the funds and allowing not just buying one piece of apparatus, but the way you plan this out. So I want to compliment you on that. And
thank you.
Appreciate
my staff deserves a lot of credit there as well. So the Houston Galveston contract, it originated in that area. It's now a national contract. It cost us about $2,000 to use that contract. So to use the state contract, it would be about $10,000. So there's got a decent savings there. And what that does, all the manufacturers put their the bottom line on all their models on that contract. We've used this for several years now. Fleet Division has used it for other divisions, purchases in other departments and divisions. It limits us to 25% of the total cost of the apparatus and options. So we're not out building Cadillacs, we're building things that we need. And it also helps us with staff time, not going out and actually bidding the massive amount of work that takes. So we've been, this has been a very positive thing using the Houston Galveston contract. And again, that's a national contract and it's utilized well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson.
I'm just curious when we will see that piece of machinery in action.
Well, I'm actually going to text Chief Wilson when I sit down as soon as this is formally approved and the order will be placed tomorrow. It's probably going to be about a year before we see it arrive. Yeah, that's about what so last year around this time, you approved an apparatus, a new squad for our Station 7. We're building that out right now. It's actually arrived and our firefighters are outfitting it right now. And we hope to have it in service by end of October. So it's a lengthy process, but these are custom built apparatus.
Yeah.
Pierce builds them from the ground up.
Big deal. I appreciate your diligence in that. I know we've had conversations about this specifically and I love it. Thank you.
Public Safety Committee is fully on board. So
cool.
I'm sure they've been briefing you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Holman.
Just have a few comments I need to make about civil asset forfeiture. First, Oklahoma, according to the Institute for Justice, has a D- rating for the integrity of our civil asset forfeiture laws. The federal government also has a D- in that regard. This practice is not like a criminal case. The threshold of evidence is not the same. It's a lot less, actually. And in many states, like Oklahoma, the owner of the property, the burden is on them to prove that the property was not used in a crime. It's not on the state to prove that, which is kind of backwards when you think of the justice system, in my opinion. Most civil asset forfeiture cases are under $10,000 throughout the United States, and there's a reason for this. The cost of hiring legal representation will often cost you more than that if you want to fight a civil asset forfeiture case against you. Most people can't afford that, so they will give up. What this practice does is allows local governments to not properly fund their police departments, and instead rely on a revenue source that is highly controversial and encourages departments to take things from people. That doesn't mean that our police department has necessarily done that, but police departments throughout the United States have been proven to do this. It creates an incentive, especially in smaller police departments that are more rural, that don't have a large tax base like we do in this city. And in my opinion, it's extremely controversial nationwide. It's not something we should rely on. Most of the time, the things that civil asset forfeiture funds are requested to pay for are very worthy causes. The things that are on the agenda tonight are things I support. I'm glad to see, but I do have a real problem with how we pay for it. These things should be paid for by our city general fund. And again, I would ask the rest of my colleagues to really think about this in the future. We need to fund our police department properly and not rely on something like this to fill these holes. Thank you.
The motion on the floor is to approve the consent docket. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been cast and the motion to approve the consent docket passes unanimously.
Item 25 is an ordinance rezoning property located at 421 East Acres Street from R3 Multifamily Dwelling District and C2 General Commercial District to a SPUD, Simple Planned Unit Development District. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Is there a representative from the applicant?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Miller, city leadership, and council members. My name is Tony Freyu. I'm a representative of St. Joseph's Catholic Church, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be on the agenda this evening. I think I have, there we go. We're here for the purpose this evening to request respectfully that you consider rezoning our property from a general commercial zoning and a multifamily zoning to a SPUD, a simple planned unit development. And the reason why we believe that is important is because we would like to move forward with a wayfinding signage initiative. And in order to do that, it's important for us to be rezoned as a SPUD development zoning criteria so that we can do that. I've been a member of St. Joseph's for 37 years, and I also serve as a member of our parish council, which is an advisory body to our pastor. Over the years at St. Joseph's, we've been a church here in Norman for many, many years, since the 1800s. And so with that, we've experienced a lot of growth. And so through the years, for whatever reasons, we have been zoned several different ways. Here is a location that map that indicates our current zoning. As you can see, our campus expands across 3 different blocks. So we're a little bit spread out. And here is an aerial view of that. Because of the campus spanning 3 different blocks, we oftentimes have issues with the public who may be taking advantage of some of our services or some of the event opportunities that we provide. We have our church at one end of the campus, and then we also have our chapel at the other end. So sometimes we have interruptions during worship services because people are lost. And so we believe that by providing the wayfinding signage, that will be of great benefit to the community of Norman. We believe that it's going to be aesthetically appealing and also help any individuals who may be coming on our campus that are non-members who are not familiar with where our different buildings are and the different services that we provide. So this particular slide shows the different areas that we would like to place signage. And so you can see it spans quite a distance. Here are some examples of some of the signs that we want to place on our campus. You will notice that it's bilingual. Not only is it in English, it is also in Spanish. And that is a result of the changes in demographics in our church membership. And also the individuals who come onto campus to seek services, because we have a strong partnership with Catholic Charities, and they provide services to immigrants as well as provides a women's sanctuary center. And so we do try to be very conscious and meet some of the needs of our people here in Norman. In fact, our Hispanic community, we've seen a great shift. Just a decade ago, we were about 5% Hispanic in our membership and about 95% non-Hispanic. More recently, our Hispanic membership has now grown to approximately 45%. So you can see we've had a great deal of change in terms of the types of members that we have. Of course, we're very proud of our diversity. We have many other cultures besides the Hispanic and the non-Hispanic. We have Vietnamese and many others who are members of our church. So I won't bore you with the details, so I'll just quickly advance through examples of our signs. As you can see, the parish center and the chapel is one end, the church is at the other, Catholic Charities is in the middle. And so it just provides some directions for individuals who are trying to access the services and the events that we offer. So with that, I would like to respectfully request that the City Council approve our request to rezone to a SPUD zoning center so that we may move forward with the master sign package and hopefully be able to provide some directions and less confusion to people who are coming onto our church campus. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. I have individuals in the audience. If you ask too technical of a question, I'll defer to them.
Thank you. Councilmember Castleberry, remember, not too technical.
I don't have that ability. So you're not building anything new or doing anything.
Yes.
So the reason why you have to go to the SPUD is because of our current sign ordinance.
Yes, sir. And because through
The restrictions of our sign ordinance and one stuff like this. So you're having to go to all this hassle to do a SPUD because our sign ordinance is out of date. Editorial comment.
I can't speak to that.
Because our sign ordinance won't allow you or any business to have more than 1 or 2 signs on there. And so this is really, you're going through the cost and the procedures of all this stuff because of our sign ordinance. To
Yes,
comply with
sir.
our current sign ordinance, if we're a SPUD, you'll be able to do that.
Yes, what we have found that under the general commercial zoning, we're able to provide some signs, but under the other zoning, we're not able to provide the same level of signage. And so in order to resolve that issue, we would just like to rezone and make the whole campus a SPUD zoning area.
Councilmember Scott.
Councilmember Castleberry pretty much asked my question. I just want to say also that I really appreciate the inclusivity of the bilingualism
Thank you.
on your signs.
Other council questions? This is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions. Okay, you can go ahead and take a seat. Maybe
Okay,
if you
thank
stay
you.
up at the front in case there's any more questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
Steve Ellis, 633 Reed Avenue. I think this SPUD idea is a great one. I go to St. Thomas more, but I pretty regularly head up to St. Joseph because it's closer to my house. So I appreciate the need for this. I did actually have a little question just about the actual wording of the SPUD, because when I went through it just to see what it said, I don't see that it covers anything other than the signs. I thought it would say something like, we'll keep the existing zoning regulations the way that they are with the exception of what we want to do below. But the way it's actually written, it looks like it's, here are the current uses, here's what we want, signs, and then there's no description of what other limitations are. And I'm guessing that's probably an oversight, or maybe I misread it and somebody can point me to it. But I wonder if anybody's had a look just to make sure that we aren't sort of functionally de-zoning this area and we're just adding essentially their capacity to build signs and not just saying, okay, do what you want. Thanks, Steve Ellis.
Thank you. Ms. Hudson, do you want to come up and answer that question?
Jane Hudson, Norton Planning Department. So within the document that they submitted, they have a master site development plan showing what will be included there for their sign package, but there is no addition to the use on the site. I mean, they're keeping it as the church facility.
So if they wanted to do something else, they would have to come back.
If they want to do something other than the church use?
Right, other than the signs, or if they wanted to build something else, or they would still have to come back.
Correct.
For approval of whatever else it was. This only approves the signs.
Correct.
Any other comments from the audience? Final council comments. Councilmember Bierman.
I forgot it was still in public comment, but Jane, I just wanted to ask, is that how SPUDs are normally done, to just change one use and then have to come back for additional changes?
Not necessarily. It's just that for this application, for this applicant, the only thing that they're really concerned with is being able to get their wayfinding sign package approved. And they have, at this time, my understanding, they have no intentions of constructing any new buildings, putting any additional uses or anything out there on that site. If they did decide to do that, then yes, I would think that they would have to come back and request approval to get a different use out there. But no, typically we get all the uses listed out because someone is actually looking for a different use on the site.
Okay. I'm just thinking in the, I'm sure, extremely unlikely event that you ever decided to move and, sell this property to someone else, that would mean that they would then have to go back and either apply for a new SPUD or comply with the existing zoning on the property.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Any other council comments or questions? Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading by show of hands. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That was unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been cast to adopt the ordinance upon final reading. Passes unanimously.
An ordinance closing part of the utility easement located on Lot 1, Block 1, St. Thomas More Church Addition. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Is there a representative of the applicant?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Harold Heipel, 218 East Eufaula. And St. Thomas More Church is asking the city to vacate a portion of a 5-foot easement. Long story short, when St. Thomas More was first platted, and it's at the southeast corner of Jenkins and Stinson, there was a 5-foot utility easement dedicated along the south line, which measures 276 feet. The request tonight is to do only, to essentially close only the west 134 feet of that. Yeah, and it's easier to follow if you can go to the your page. If we could have, I think that we've got it on here someplace. That there we go, right there. How about that? What you're looking at there, where you see the sign "Subject Tract" sitting over a dotted line. That dotted line is 134 feet long. That is what we're asking to be closed. The facts are that there have never been any utility lines in that particular 134 feet. There never will be any lines in there. And this does not affect anybody else's property. It's entirely within the church property. The reason for asking this west portion to be closed is simply because the city ordinances and the state law says you cannot build a structure on an easement. Now, you can put a parking lot or a sidewalk or a driveway across an easement, but you can't bring anything out of the ground. Well, what we need to do with a portion of that dotted line that's being closed is to build a structure that actually connects the existing church to the north and the new church being built immediately south of it. And this is going to be the connecting structure that allows people to get to and from, and especially brides come out of the old church where they've been able to dress and get into the new church for their wedding without having to go through sun and snow and hail and sleet and all that. So, you know, it basically is just an air-conditioned and covered passage with walls. That's all it amounts to, but it's a critical factor in making the whole effect work as the people have all intended. And for that reason, now, by the way, the other portion of the 276 feet has electric and utility city lines in it, but those lines come up along Lincoln Avenue. They turn towards Jenkins and they go up about 90 feet, and then they go back north to Stinson Street. So that's the only portion of the 276 that's being used. But all we're asking to be closed is that 134 feet. Now, obviously, the structure is not going to take up 134 feet by any matter of means. It probably will be, I'm guessing, 24 to 30 feet wide, and simply connect the short distance between the two churches. So with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, or if anybody has any problems with any of it. And if not, we would respectfully request that it be closed, this 134 feet. And if I might, Mayor, because this is very likely my last appearance before the city council representing any third party, I would hope not only to have it approved, but I know the church would appreciate it if it was a unanimous vote. So with that, we submit it, or if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, I can't imagine putting those brides in the situation of having to walk in
I
the
certainly
rain
wouldn't want to have to answer
and the
to it.
mud. I think that's terribly important. So, any questions or comments from the council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the audience? Final comments from the council. The motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading by a show of hands. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That was unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Council members, you may cast your vote.
All votes have been to adopt the ordinance upon final reading passes unanimously.
Holt. Item 27 is an ordinance amending all sections of the code to conform to state regulations concerning the definitions of alcoholic beverages and intoxicating beverages and addressing the consumption of spirits in public place effective October 1st. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading, section by section.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Beth Muckala, Assistant City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Miller and Council. In April, City staff presented the Council with information regarding all of the changes that would need to be made to our ordinances to conform with the new state liquor laws. We have brought operational and licensing changes to you, which was approved by this Council June 12th. And then zoning changes, along with certain definitional changes, were also passed by this Council in a second ordinance on July 24th. And now this is the third and final set of changes. It implements changes to conform our ordinances with the state law on public consumption and other related code portions, as well as adoption of state definitions to make those consistent as well. And so the liquor laws go into effect October 8th. If this is passed today, this ordinance will be effective in time to be consistent with that. And so staff recommends adoption of ordinance 01819-8. Welcome, any questions?
Councilmember Holman.
Do you have any information or clarity maybe about, is this impacting what's going to be happening on campus on Saturday? For game day, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion just this week about people being confused about what is happening at Campus Corner because of the change in these laws. Is there any relation to this, I guess, or any clarity you could give?
Thank you for the question. No, this set not directly, because these won't be final or effective until October 1st as the ordinance is written. State law also doesn't change until October 1st, so we have 4 home games that are happening before that time. The Campus Corner Association, as I understand it, has been working with the ABLE Commission to kind of smooth the transition between those 4 home games and when the state laws go into effect. And I understand it is going to be a new system that the Campus Corner Association and ABLE is excited to implement. And hopefully it will go smoothly, but it will be different, and it's different now in order that they be ready for the change October 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've already started.
I'm concerned about Campus Corner being fenced up.
Already started to operate under the new rules.
Yes, it's
to make it less confusing as they go through the season.
It's very complicated, but yes, hopefully they're already operating under the license and contract structure they need to have in place for October 1st. They're starting it early to try to work out kinks, I think.
Okay. Councilmember Clark.
So I work at the University of Oklahoma with young people, and I've already gotten questions about these changes. And one of them was, right now, 3-2 beer is technically a food product, so you can walk around with it because it's not considered an intoxicating beverage. And so what will change with that October 1? Because one student asked me if he could just carry around a bottle of liquor around game day, and I would like to clarify that so we don't have that happening.
Thank you for the question. Yes, right now, Low Point Beer is not regulated by the ABLE Commission. That's actually pursuant to our state constitution, which was changed with the passage of the state question. So effective October 1st, Low Point Beer will be regulated along with every type of alcoholic beverage by the ABLE Commission. So it will become an alcoholic beverage effective October 1st. So our current public consumption ordinance here in Norman, as well as state law, allows people to carry Low Point Beer publicly. And effective October 1st, state law will change to allow the public consumption of wine or beer as those are defined within the state laws. And there is an alcohol content limit on that, but not spirits. You have to be in an able licensed premise in order to consume spirits.
And it's the same thing with what they're going to be selling at Walmart or wherever. It won't be Jack Daniels. It'll be wine or High Point beer.
Correct. It's retail beer and retail wine licenses that are being granted to stores other than spirit stores.
Because I think some residents have been confused that it will be like a liquor store is going to be at Target when that's not exactly the case. So, and I know that the liquor stores understand this because they've been following it closely. But I wanted to clarify that for everyone because I think there has been some confusion about what will actually be available and what applies to the walking around law. Thank you.
Sure.
Council.
Yeah, dry campus.
Councilmember Bierman.
So I had a question about our local licensing or permitting as it relates to this. Have we changed either the qualifications for that permit or license or the fee for it or both?
Now, there were some new categories of licensing that were created with the first ordinance that was passed back June 12th, and some of those fees match the state fee. Under state statute, we aren't allowed to exceed, we usually match or are lower than. So no, there weren't any individual raises of fees that I can recall. Just were the new fees, they match the state.
Okay.
And no, there were no new operational requirements imposed.
Thank you.
This is an opportunity for members of the audience to ask questions or make comments. The audience is not as concerned about the campus corner on game days. So, okay. Okay, final comments from the council. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading by a show of hands. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That was unanimous. The motion on the floor is, I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
The motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your vote. Okay, go.
All votes have been cast, and the motion to adopt the ordinance upon final reading passes unanimously.
It's adopting and ratifying the assessment role for the University North Park Business Improvement District, establishing the time and terms of payment of assessments, fixing penalties to be charged for delinquent payment of assessment or installment, setting forth tracts or parcels against which the assessments are being adopted, ratified and levied, directing the city clerk to prepare, sign, attest, and record with Cleveland County Clerk following passage of the payment deadline a claim of lien for any unpaid amount due and assessed against a tract or parcel of land. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on second reading.
Motion to adopt.
Second. At this time, I'd like to recognize Catherine Moore, who will present on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to ask Bryce to help me get through these slides since I'm up here. So the Business Improvement District for University North Park was created in June 2014 after the city received a petition containing signatures by over 80% of the property owners in University North Park. And part of that petition set forth what they would like the bid funds to be used for. That includes Legacy Park and Legacy Trail maintenance, and then other enhancements, including landscaping and entrances and things like that. It provides for a $200,000 per year assessment for 10 years. Per development agreement number 3 and development agreement number 5, the TIF funds, $900,000 in TIF funds were used to get that business improvement district started with matching funds from the property owners growing over time. So the first year bid funds were funded completely with TIF funds, $200,000. The next year, the TIF contribution decreased by $25,000 while the property owner assessment increased by $25,000. And it was done this way to encourage additional development to occur so that the $200,000 assessment wasn't too burdensome for the larger property owners. So the assessments are done every year based on the taxable value of all of the properties that have been developed within the assessment district. The first year was, as I said, was a full $200,000 from the TIF fund. The second year it was $175,000 from the TIF fund and $25,000 from the property owners, and that's grown so that over a 10-year period we'll have had a total of $1.1 million contributed toward the Legacy Park maintenance and other enhancements. This year, the 2019 assessments, the property owners are being assessed $125,000, and the TIF is funding $75,000 of that $200,000 total. These allocations are non-fiscal, so whatever doesn't get used this year will be rolled over to the following year, and they have been able to roll some funds over and do some additional projects. This Oklahoma law governing improvement districts provides that they can be renewed at the end of 10 years. 10 years is the maximum length they can go, or those duties and those assessments could be assumed by a property owner association. So on tonight's agenda, we're having a public hearing on the 2019 bid assessments. Those assessments are provided in your packets. Notice has been provided to every property owner by mail and then also by publication in the newspaper. And under state law, any objections to these assessments must be filed at least 3 days prior to the hearing. We haven't received any objections. We received one letter requesting additional information, but not objecting to the assessment. The ordinance on your agenda tonight will levy those assessments officially. City staff will send out invoices by November 1st, and the payments are due March 31st of 2019. As I said, those funds roll over, so we know how much we collect in 2019, and those funds will be appropriated as part of your budget in 2020. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from the council? Councilmember Scott.
If anything happens to the existing UMP TIF, if it ends or otherwise, is this still in place?
The assessment district is created under a different set of statutes. If the TIF was ended, I presume some of the talks that we've had up to this point have included setting aside funds for obligations currently already obligated to by the city. And so one of those things are our remaining 2 assessments. So those, if those are set aside, then we'd be fine. We'd be able to make those assessments and we wouldn't be in any violation of a contract or anything like that.
Okay.
Questions from the audience? Comments? Final council comments. Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on second reading by a show of hands. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. I'll entertain a motion to adopt or reject the ordinance on final reading.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Go here, second.
Second.
Motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance on final reading. Council members, you may cast your.
And the motion to adopt the ordinance upon final reading passes unanimously.
Council as a whole and limited to 5 minutes or less. Do we have audience remarks.
Stephen Price. I'm from 1516 East Lindsay. I'm here to address the council about issues regarding Campus Corner. As an Uber driver, we are constantly being, not constantly, I'm sorry, but occasionally we are being targeted by police officers. Majority of our interactions with the police are very positive, but there are individuals that tend to target us and tell us that we cannot stop along the street to drop off our passengers or pick up passengers. And we would like to know if there is a way that we can create some sort of a staging area along Campus Corner so that we can have the passengers come to us so that we're not having negative interactions with the police department. Anything?
Yeah, when they tell us that we can't stop.
Would you identify yourself? And
When they tell us that we
Your
can't
name.
stop, oh, I'm sorry, Amanda Logston, 1516 East Lindsay. When they tell us that we cannot stop, I don't know if any of you have been down to Campus Corner at closing time. It's a madhouse. There are people walking across the street that will stop in the middle of the street and party still in the middle of the street. And we're the ones that get accosted for stopping. And there's no place for us to go. So if there was some place where we could go to stage to pick up the passengers, I think it would clear up a lot of the congestion down there.
Okay.
And also there are, after hours, there are people having impromptu dance parties, blocking off traffic in the middle of the street. And so if we try to drive through those dance parties, we're at risk, we're risking our safety because we don't know if these individuals are going to damage our vehicles or try and remove us from our vehicles because they don't like that we're interrupting their entertainment.
Okay, thank you very much. You might want to speak with the chief after the meeting's over tonight.
Sorry, guys, I want to make sure you hear me this time. Because it seems like, I'm sorry, John High, 1705 Dakota Street, Norman, Oklahoma. I've lived here all my life. I'm a Normanite. I really do care about Norman. But the actions that may be taken from what's being stated from this point on may not be out of my control. I don't want Norman to pay out money because they don't want to do what's right. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is about the taxi services, about being accessible by the law. In 1991, they were supposed to be. During this time, I was told that at your retreat that you would be talking about this, that you would research this and take care of this. At this time, I'd like to know the results of what you've gotten to. Do you have a committee together to try to make sure that this is being taken care of? Have you done anything on this? And as a group, I'm holding you responsible for it this time. And I'd like to know some type of research that has been done, any action that has gone forward to go one step forward on this situation. Can you answer me as a whole?
Since this is miscellaneous, we cannot have a discussion about it. I have met with some consumers and have been visiting with them, but no formal action has been taken yet.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is, I'm wearing a DAP t-shirt, and we will be acting upon on this situation at this concert that you just answered, okay? Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Steve Ellis, 633 Reed Avenue. Many of you probably saw this, but there was a story recently in the Norman Transcript about the new Lloyd Noble Center development that Blake Griffin helped fund, and the discussion of that. And it was sort of interesting. The reporter from the transcript, John McKelvey, brought up some issues having to do with the UNP arena. And Joe Castiglione, the athletic director at the University of Oklahoma, was quoted in that story, but also the quote's been confirmed as saying, in regard to the UNP arena deal, that we've had some signals from the city government and we're talking about some other opportunities. We'll just wait and see how things evolve. It's like a game. Sometimes you just got to hang in there, keep battling, and see how it turns out. And I was wondering if there could be some, discussion with, maybe not at the meeting, obviously, but some discussion with constituents about what signals are being sent, or whether or not maybe Mr. Castiglione might be misreading some of the stuff. I mean, if somebody is at the city is sort of batting their eyes at the university still about this sort of stuff, I would think it would be relevant for the city council to know. So if anybody knows, who's flirting with Joe, I'd love to hear the whole story. Thanks.
Roger, 633 Reed Avenue also. This is irrelevant right now. I just wanted to say thank you to council. The Pride Festival was great. I saw a lot of you there, saw a lot of the community there. It was a very positive thing. And yay, Norman.
Roger Gallagher, 2513 Woodsong. One thing that I noticed that Oklahoma City was doing when they had the bird scooters in there was they're finally trying to resolve the problem of them being brought in illegally. Now, so my question is, how is Norman handling this? They've been around the city. Evidently, they haven't been certified or they haven't gone through any sort of procedure, and they're on the street. Now, they've been hit already. One has been hit by a driver. If the city is condoning this or tacitly condoning it, and someone gets hurt because of the scooter and the car colliding, this could be a real bad deal for the city. And I'm wondering if you're prepared to take chances and get this done so it's legal, because they're a danger, and these people are darting into traffic thinking it's like a bicycle. And I just see future problems with these in the first place. And the second is the city really needs to either stop it or condone it and get it certified and have them pay for the license and be a legitimate business. The other thing is about asset forfeitures. It just seems to me that when the city animal and cat shelter was passed, that there were some shortcomings. Some of it was because of the debate during how much we were going to expand it. It's become a very good resource for the city. It's gotten greater appeal and greater business. But when I was listening to Chief Humphrey talk about this, he did mention the fact that police, police integrated or influence activities or programs can divert some of the asset forfeiture money that has been decided to be retained by the police department, that maybe because public safety is the overlapping atmosphere of the shelter. And maybe some small amounts of money can be diverted from the asset forfeiture amount to the city shelter. So I would think you might want to consider that, particularly because the shortcomings and the donations that aren't guaranteed would perhaps be available through the, one of those avenues of dealing with asset forfeitures. Thank you.
I just know this has come up several times before.
So second part of the family, Ann Gallagher, 2513 Woodsong. Harold was a legacy to us, and I hope that everybody appreciates that. He's not going away for good. He's just stopping adversarial work, which is, you know, he's entitled. But I just want to thank him publicly for all that he's done for this city. I know that oftentimes my first encounter with him was standing at this podium in an argument over a senior center, not a senior center, I apologize, an assisted living center not needing parking, as much parking as I thought they needed. And he stood up and said, "Young lady, I can help you." And I turned to him and said, "I'm not done." I didn't know who Harold was. But he met me, he called me at work and said, "Can I meet you for lunch? I want to show you the new plans." I mean, he went above and beyond to make sure that, okay, yeah, I heard what you said. This is what's being taken care of. And he's just a legacy to the city. And I just wanted to publicly thank him.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, do you have a report?
Go to the council first.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. Councilmember Bierman.
As always, I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I see a lot of "I voted" stickers out there, and I'm really glad to see it. We've got election results coming in, and we've got some really interesting challenges facing us as a city and also as a state, and we're going to have some really interesting candidates to pick from come November. So I'm really glad to see the participation in our election process. I was number 412 at my polling place when I voted at 5 o'clock, which was a little low. Not so many fun things on the ballot this time around, but that is the nature of primary runoffs. But I'm really glad to see everyone plugging into the process, and that's all I have for tonight. We'll keep it short.
Councilmember Carter.
For the first time, I do have a few comments to make. I was surprised to read in the newspaper about the arena signals or behind the scenes negotiations that might still be occurring. And just to reiterate my thoughts on the arena, even if it were free, I'm opposed to the concept of building an arena on the far outskirts of town, the northwest part of town. And since I was elected to council in February, I've been to 8 different cities and looked at, specifically went out of my way while on business in these cities to look at their locations of their public infrastructure and athletic facilities. Seattle, all of their public athletic facilities are downtown in an urban environment. Denver, Fort Worth is building a new arena right in the middle of the downtown area. Of course, Oklahoma City's got Bricktown and the Bricktown Ballpark downtown. Houston, their basketball downtown. 3 cities, Oakland, Arlington, Texas, and Glendale, have their arenas on the outskirts of town in suburban, and the feel of those locations is completely different. It's just not the same. And in fact, Oakland, where the Golden State Warriors play, the arena's right next to the Oakland Athletics. It's just in a giant, huge parking lot, no feel. And they're vacating, the Warriors are going to vacate that. They're building a new facility in the urban core of San Francisco. So this move is towards urban cores and reinvigorating urban cores, not spreading these kind of things out. I just believe an arena out there is just not in the long-term health and well-being of this city. in the business districts that we have. We just had a great Lindsay Street merchants meeting today at 3. Lindsay Street's trying to come back. We got Campus Corner. We got downtown. We got these areas of town that we're trying to build back. And I think it's in our long-term interest to keep that in our focus. In regard to focus, I feel like we need to keep our eye on the ball on the current budget problems. And these are budget problems that we've had for years, 3 or 4 years now, as I can see. I feel like we've handicapped, I see all these great department heads out here that have not been given the tools to do their job. And I think that's our fault. I feel like we had a little study session before here. And just to share, I've reflected on it a bit more, and I'm not against it, but I am not ready to move forward with that until we address the TIF 2. And as I said in the Finance Committee meeting, again, in light of this renewed discussion about the arena, to remove those 2 projects, the Cultural Center and Lifestyle Center, from TIF 2 would allow and fund its existing obligations, allows that to die the quiet death it deserves. And it immediately restores funding to the general fund that's going to give these department heads the tools that they deserve to do the job that we've asked them to do. Now, today's proposal in the study session isn't going to be determined until the mid-year review in January, so I don't see the need to put it on fast forward. And I think that the carrot was hung out there that this money can be used to offset budget deficits and the need for possible cuts. But as the finance chairman recommended, is that if we were to, that money more prudently would be used to create a greater balance in the rainy day fund, so we don't have a total drop in the total fund balance that we have on reserve that might adversely affect our bond rating, which might increase the interest rates on the bonds that we pay. So I think that carrot's hung out there. I'm not comfortable with that carrot, so I'm just not comfortable moving forward with that right now. I think it's important we keep our focus on, letting the TIF die a humane death. I think we need to focus on our transportation bond coming up in February. I think we need to focus, we just went through a major, 3 inches of rain is not that much rain, but we had major flood damage in this city. And I'm worried that, is it going to take some significant, terrible incident like a carload of kids getting washed into a creek, something like that, before this city finally realizes we have to address flooding in our city? These are all incredibly important things that we need to keep our eye on. And in regard to the Fred Gibson letter that we all had on our desk this morning or today, this is a letter that was generated by 2 former councils, mayors, city council members. I'm looking forward to seeing a paper trail of this $320,000 that was paid by the city of Norman to the CEDL, and where all of that money, how it was appropriated, and how that paper trail exists. I'm interested in seeing the city waive, and I'll leave this to the attorneys to decide exactly the structure for doing that, but the privilege and where we have this attorney-client privilege that's being used to release documents to the public so that we get some transparency into this process. There's just a huge number of questions that need to be remain to be answered in regard to all of this, and I hope that we see this in the near future. I had an interesting phone call from a developer this week, a prominent developer in the city, in regard to the tree ordinances. Now, I've went to the last tree board meeting and to the community transportation meeting where we discussed, that was over 2 months ago. And I was on the phone with this man for probably 30 minutes, just getting reamed out over the tree ordinances. And it was that he's going to have to clear cut his property so that he doesn't have to abide by these new tree ordinances. And it was, he knew far more. If there's a draft out there of a tree ordinance, I would like to see it, because his attorney, who's a prominent attorney that speaks before this group, and whatever the developers group meeting is, this is the kind of misinformation that behind the back. It's also characterized in this letter where there's all these, council is the last group to know about what's going on. We need more transparency and more openness. I'd like to have an update on the cart. We got a letter from Mr. Gala Mari about OU demanding $300,000 in funds, and this is the 28th, and so are we going to lose $300,000 here on the 1st of September? Common courtesy. This is something that we should be kept in the loop on. So I look forward to a period of time where we have more openness, more communication, more transparency. And now that I've whined long enough, and I'm not typically a whiner, I want to say 3 good things, exciting things. We just had the Lindsay Street Merchants meeting, and Lindsay Street is trying to come back. Sooner Legends is going to reopen their bar the 1st of September. That's good. Sooner Legends Restaurant's going to reopen late September. Just waiting on getting the carpet replaced. Yeah. And Legends is about to celebrate their 50th anniversary on September 15th. That's pretty exciting. And, I really feel like, as a Lindsay Street merchant myself, I finally went back and looked at 2017, and we were down about $100,000 in gross sales in 2017 at McGee Street Animal Hospital. So that construction project there cost us that amount of money. The guy that runs Sooner Legends, he lost in sales over $3 million during the construction period. Well, think about that. The manager of Homeland was here this afternoon, and I don't remember the number of millions of dollars they were down, Homeland. Well, one good thing about all of that is that had to have a negative impact on our sales tax revenue. And so now that Lindsay Street's starting to come back, the Homeland manager shared with us, I think he's up 29% this month. But I still go down to Andrews 66 on the corner of Berry, across from Robert's old office. He's got paper sacks over his gasoline pumps because he hasn't been able to pay his wholesale. He owes the wholesale gas distributor $23,000 right now. So he has no gas. The Shell station across the street has boards on it. You go down the street to another business and there's tree growing up through the middle of it. The old bank on the other side of the street's got grass growing. They haven't mowed their lawn. So it's far from recovered. It's been hopefully not a permanent change in shopping habits, but it's trying to come back. And one thing that they're doing is on October 13th, the Legacy Rotary Club has moved their car show to Lindsay Street. So I encourage all of you to try and attend that. It's going to be from 10 Saturday. It's not a football game. October 13th, Jerry Siebert, the lady that owns Classic 50s, is spearheading the project, and she's doing a great job. Scott Martin was there today from the Chamber of Commerce. Very happy to see that. Jason Smith from NEDC came, and looking forward to seeing our community rally behind our Lindsay Street merchants and move forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Castleberry.
I'll keep it real brief. Rob Lake from Norman is on America's Got Talent tonight. It's good old. I won't make that comment. It's you can vote 30 times. Yeah, vote early. I was going to make it. I won't make it. But you can vote on your app. You can vote on the website, and you can call in. 10 votes per person, so it's good old fashioned. Democratic Chicago style voting. I said it anyway. So let's support one of Norman's best, and I'll keep it short after that.
Councilmember Wilson.
Thank you. I'm happy to see the Wilkies here tonight. Our Ward 5 folks. Every time we get one or two in, I like to give you a hey you, because thank you. It's a long ways down here. We every month have a ward meeting, the second Saturday of every stinking month. And we flip-flop where we have it, but this September 8th at 10:30 a.m. at Thunderbird Baptist Church. So hopefully I'll see all the rest of the Ward 5 people there. And thank you for the brush pumper, City of Norman.
Councilmember Clark.
In regards to the comments earlier from the Uber drivers, I'm sure Lyft drivers have the same conflict. This would seem like a wonderful opportunity to reach out to our partners at the University of Oklahoma, and perhaps when they're where the pull-in is into the Union parking garage or something like that, or even the Oval down by the Price College of Business would be a great, easy way where if they want their ride, they know where they need to go. And I think that would be good partnership and teamwork with the university where we could address an issue together. And I know that President Gallagly would be appreciative of an opportunity to do so. In regards to Pride, we don't really deserve the thanks. It wasn't us that organized it. It was Norman Pride. They did an amazing job. It was not just a festival. It was not just a parade. Tolly Park sponsored the kickoff parties, the after parade parties. Businesses all along Main Street provided live music and other events. It truly was a community celebration. And I am so grateful that Norman now has Pride. And I know it will continue to grow. And I appreciate the transcript and the coverage that they provided of this event. And there was a moment at the festival, the festival on Saturday in Gray Street. So the City of Norman did participate with that. We did not charge them for the use of that, where you could see just young members of the LGBTQ community coming together, celebrating and feeling comfortable in a public space. And that was so nice. And we did play a part in that. So I'm honored to have Pride. And I was also very honored to be recognized with my sister as a co-grand marshal of the parade. It was wonderful. It was a lot of hugging, a lot of happiness. It was a great night. I would like to see the Norman Police Department and the City of Norman work together, maybe on some increased public education as High Point beer is more prevalent in our community. I know that as someone from Kansas, when I go home, I'll have the same amount of beer, but it's High Point versus the Low Point I'm used to here, and there is a difference. So a little bit of public education when we make that change in October wouldn't be bad. I hope everyone has a safe Labor Day weekend. I encourage you to give blood if you can. I'm a regular blood donor, past 5 gallons. It's an easy way to give back to our community, and the Oklahoma Blood Institute would really appreciate that. Finally, Cleveland County Fair in East Norman. It's coming up. It'll be before our next council meeting. So they have so many fun events planned. Please check their website, their Facebook page, their calendar. I'm particularly looking forward to the weenie dog races on the Sunday. There's the goat milking, or is it cow milking contest, I think, on Friday. There's the carnival. There's the fair. It's a great way to bring people to East Norman and celebrate a lot of aspects of our community that I think kind of get overlooked with football and all that fun stuff. And it's a wonderful family time, and I really appreciate it. So I hope you guys get out there and enjoy the fair. And that is September 6th through 9th at the Cleveland County Fairgrounds, Porter and Robinson. Thanks.
Councilmember Holman.
A couple things, just again, echoing some of the similar comments. It was a real honor to be asked to walk in the Pride Parade yesterday, the first ever, or on Sunday, and first ever in Norman's history. So being a Norman native and being asked to participate in that parade was a real great thing that I'll remember forever, and really embodies what I saw in the faces of the crowd, really embodies what I love about Norman and why this is such a great place to live, in my opinion. So other things, the Uber issue, I would also echo some of those concerns by the drivers about kind of the chaos. So I work the door at a bar on Campus Corner a couple nights a week, Monday and Wednesday nights, which are pretty slow, so it's not that bad. But sometimes I work on a weekend, like a Friday or Saturday night, and I've definitely observed how chaotic Campus Corner can get with the rideshare, with Lyft and Uber both competing. And Campus Corner is not a very big place geographically. And so you'll notice on White Street and Asp Street, White Street even more so is a problem because it's very narrow and there's parking on one side of it. And what we have is, since there's not any designated location for people to pick up or drop off, it's just anywhere you happen to be standing is where the Ubers will, or Lyft will stop and pick people up. And so there's traffic issues that get created. People are walking in the streets, and I can definitely see how it's an issue and why some other cities have addressed that. So I think we definitely need to look at a couple of locations, probably on Campus Corner, to for Uber and Lyft and whatnot, to have designated spots for pickup. Other than that, Saturday morning I did get up early and went out to Little Axe to the Stormwater Open House, the second to last one. I don't go out that far very often. It's 22 miles from my house to the Little Axe Community Center, all still in Norman. So it was nice to go out there, though. It's real nice out there on Sunday mornings. There was 15 or 20 folks out there, and we had a very good discussion. People weren't upset about stormwater. They were wanting to know more, and how specifically out there, how will the stormwater utility help them specifically? And there were some issues about other services they may not get and what we're doing about that. And so it was a good conversation. I was happy to be out there, and looking forward to continuing the stormwater discussion, which I think is the number one most pressing issue in the city of Norman right now. So with that, that's all I have, and thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Councilmember Scott.
Thank you, fellow council folk. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you, home viewers. And I was also very grateful to be invited to walk in the Pride Parade this weekend, Norman's first Pride. This side of the dais is represented very well. Good job. And then also our missing folks. I know you guys don't know what your excuses were, but there's always next year. And so, yeah, no excuses. But I think Norman is the place of progress, where we're a symbol of progress in our state. And, with the primary being today, I'm on a P roll. The primary being today, I was number 149 in my precinct, another P word, to vote, which I thought was low, but I guess that's, we need to represent a little better, Ward 8. Speaking of Ward 8, I intend to have or host 2 ward meetings in September, one during a weeknight and then one on a weekend, so that maybe we can have a little bit more inclusion and diversity, different people who can make it on different nights. Just want to make sure I can gather as much feedback from my community as possible. So planning on hosting those on the east side of the ward this time, on the East Side Library, and the date is TBA. So lastly, I am a OU football season ticket holder, and I will not, for the first time in 6 years, I will not be at the opening game. I have some family I need to spend my time with this time, so I'm selling my tickets. However, I want everybody to please be safe, take an Uber wherever they may be not stopping on Campus Corner, and to welcome the Florida Atlantic with some Southern hospitality and open arms. Let's show them a good time. Let's be ourselves, and Boomer Sooner.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. The first having to do with Labor Day schedule. We often get questions this time of year of what's going on there. Of course, city offices will be closed on September 3rd in observance of Labor Day, but our sanitation services will collect as regularly scheduled. And of course, that includes our residential recycling and the yard waste collection. All of those will continue on as regularly scheduled. Our compost facility and our transfer station will also be open that day, but they'll only be open from 7:30 to 4. So those that are out working on that day, they'll have an opportunity to drop off some things there as well. Next, we continue to get a lot of questions and comments, rightly so, from citizens about our mowing schedules, particularly in some of our parks. We're trying to catch up as fast as we can. Of course, we've had just ideal conditions due to the temperature and the rainfall that we've had and the humidity we have. And so we have moved our parks crews to working 10-hour days in all of our city parks. We haven't caught up yet, but we will continue working 10-hour days until we get caught up. And then once we get caught up, we'll go back to our normal schedule. And then just finally, just a quick update on the Main Street Enhancement Project. I know that it's taken some time to get here, but I think you'll see the work that's being done is really slicked up that area. We're about 60% complete today. The pavement marking portions are underway. You've seen that on the west side of the project. Our contractors are stamping out the asphalt intersections with the brick patterns, so that's going along well. You're going to begin to see some of the coloring will take place over the next couple of weeks. Of course, we'll always have Main Street open during this time, and we should be finished in early September. So that's just the latest on that project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, fellow council members and people in the audience. I'm going to make a comment about, I wasn't going to make a comment about the Pride Parade because I was out of town. However, I saw a lot of things on Facebook, and what I thought about was 2 years ago when I was first mayor, there had been a lot of controversy about LGBTQ History Month. And because of some bad things that had happened, everybody had kind of stayed away from that issue. And I was approached by parents at the beginning of the year, and they really wanted us to do that. And I was extremely proud. We had a full house, and it passed unanimously, and everybody was really happy. And it was one of the things I was proudest of that very first year. So, and then last year when we did it again, it was just totally accepted. And so I think that was really a good thing. Now we've had a Pride Parade. So, stormwater, I keep getting questions about stormwater and what are you doing about stormwater? And for those that have been following it, we've had an ongoing citizen committee, and we've been doing open houses. Thursday will be our 6th open house. It will be at the chamber offices on Gray Street from 11:30 to 1:30. They've had great food. You can come and have lunch. The conversations have been excellent. This is your opportunity, people out in our television audience and people here, this is your opportunity to have input because nothing has been decided yet. So I encourage everybody to go out and attend that. And we will probably do more in the future, but we've had a really good representation of citizen committee members there at every one of the meetings, council members and staff members. So I encourage you to come out for that. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting.